Um, Hi. I'm not sure where I am or how I even got here, but I, I I think someone brought me here to talk about really old sci-fi, but who gives a crap about that, am I right? Did you know there's more Marvel and Star Wars movies coming out? And they're remaking Little Shop of Horrors again! Welcome to the first installment of Futures of the Past. In this episode, Buck Rogers. Yes, what better way to begin our journey back through the early days of popular science fiction than by taking a look at one of its most iconic protagonists, Anthony Buck Rogers. Buck first appeared in the August 1928 issue of Amazing Stories in a novella by Philip Francis Nolan entitled Armageddon 2419. Yeah, that's actually not him on the cover. I don't know who that is or what he's doing on Buck's cover. Here, let me fix it. In all seriousness, Buck was quite different in his initial outing than in the Gil Gerard TV series most people today might be familiar with. Originally a World War I veteran who's trapped in a collapsing mine shaft, he later awakens in the 25th century. I need to put up more soundproofing foam. Buck's first adventure would prove popular enough with the readers of Amazing Stories to merit a follow-up in a subsequent issue. Soon after, the character would begin to appear in a widely read comic strip and see his popularity continue to increase, eventually even getting his own movie serial starring Buster Crabbe of Flash Gordon fame. And then, of course, came the merchandise. The Buck Rogers name was used to sell all the things you would expect, from rocket ships to ray guns to popsicles, because it is very cold in space. Buck also appeared in a handful of comic book series, and between 1932 and 1947, families gathered around to hear the first ever science fiction radio show. But you know what they say, what goes up must come down, even rocket ships. Following the cancellation of the short-lived and now lost to history 1950 television series, Buck Rogers Mania seemed to have run its course. But the 1977 success of one of Buck's spiritual successors convinced Universal that the time was right to revisit the 25th century. In 1978, Battlestar Galactica producer Glenn A. Larson began work on a new television series for NBC. The pilot film was actually released theatrically in the US, and box office returns proved surprisingly strong. NBC quickly commissioned more episodes, and initial ratings were good. But after a series of disagreements over the creative direction of the show, and a delay to the start of the second season due to an actor's strike, Buck was soon once again put on ice. Since then, things have been pretty quiet with the character. There have been a few video games, such as Sega's Buck Rogers' Planet of Zoom from 1982. Here's the Atari 2600 version, and here I am playing it. Poorly. There was also Buck Rogers' Countdown to Doomsday for the Sega Genesis, but it's a turn-based strategy game. Yeah, let's blow some stuff up. Boom! I'd also personally recommend the 2009 comic book series from Dynamite Entertainment, which does a pretty good job of updating the story. Well, that concludes our look back into the history of Buck Rogers. Where will the character pop up next? Hard to say, but I can tell you one thing. I'm never doing this crap again, so if you'll excuse me. Join us next time when we take a look at another of sci-fi's earliest heroes, the warlord of Mars himself, John Carter. Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed our brief retrospective back on the Buck Rogers franchise. You can expect future episodes to be a little longer, still kind of figuring out the format. Next up is John Carter of Mars, so if you're interested in seeing that or any of the other different things we have planned for this channel, go ahead and click that subscribe button now. If you want. I don't want to be pushy or anything. Click it!